I'm muted. I guess that would have been a bad idea. We were muted. We were told to mute earlier. So all you just saw my lips moving in there. My bad. 29-21. As bad an execution as the Texas offense at times today. Catch, do you want to start this out for us?
Wow, that actually was worse than anything because I wasn't watching you because I was waiting for your microphone to come back on.
Terribly sorry.
Fitting start.
Look,
perfect.
Let's just start with the obvious on this. I wrote about this in my 10 thoughts, or not my 10 thoughts, but just my thoughts on Orange Bloods. The worst part of today, I don't think, is the loss. I don't think today the worst thing is the reality that this isn't a playoff team. I think the worst thing about today, and those things are bad, right? That's a failed disaster of a season if you're Texas, and you're coming out of the fifth game of the season, and you're way more likely to go 7-5 than you are 10-2. It's that so much of what happened today can't be fixed, won't be fixed. That the time to make some of the solutions to the problems that exist for Texas is gone. This offensive line is an unmitigated disaster. When it's not giving up sacks, it's committing penalties. When it's not doing either of those two things, its level just isn't good enough, even when it's not being a disaster. I think the Texas running back situation it's funny because about a month before the season started, some outfit named them the best running back group in the country. And I remember doing a show like, that's just dumb. And I think they have the worst running back group in the SEC. It is also an unmitigated disaster. If you're keeping score at home, the Texas running backs today, Trey Wisner, Ryan Niblett, Christian Clark, combined for 15 yards on 11 carries. That, ladies and gentlemen, were your Texas running backs. And for those that were like, and Steve Sarkisian would say things like, we haven't had our identity because Trey Wisner he was 8 for 11 today, coach. You may actually be more right than you're wrong. The tight end play, Jack Injuries is just a guy. He's just a guy. He's not anything close to what Texas has had at the tight end position. The wide receivers are okay. None of them are number ones, though. And I don't know. Maybe Wingo's a number 2. I don't know. These guys are not number 2s on good teams. And then you've got the quarterback play. And the thing is, we knew that the offensive line play wasn't going to be as good as last year. We knew that the wide receivers weren't as dynamic and explosive. We knew that Jaden Blue wasn't replaced. We knew all of these things. The thing is, Arch Manning was supposed to be so good that he was the tide that lifted all boats. And he's just not. Now, he actually wasn't the worst part of the offense today, which to me says a lot, because he wasn't good for most of this game. And his final numbers, very mid, but he certainly wasn't the worst part of the offense. But the thing is, he's not the best part. He's not good. He's not a good quarterback yet. And with everything else on this offense being in complete disarray, he needs to be great to kind of overcompensate for everywhere else on this unit that is terrible. By the way, Steve Sarkisian and his staff have done a miserable job of getting this group ready, of planning for it, of building key personnel in key areas. The worst part of today isn't the loss. It's not they're going to miss the playoffs. It's that this is one of the worst coaching jobs by a Texas coaching staff that I think we've seen since 2010. Not since 2010 have we seen a team expected to be as good as this Texas team is. And they do not deserve to be ranked tomorrow. They should not be in the top 25. And no one in their right mind could go into the OU game next week and think that this team beats OU next. OU might have 20 sacks in that game. If this offensive line shows up, it will. So the worst thing about today is that this is not an aberration. This was not an upset. They played this game 10 times. Florida wins it 8 or 9 times. Texas has revealed itself to be a poor team. They're mid at best. The offense is one of the worst in the SEC. And I don't think the coaching they're getting this year, I don't think a single coach, with maybe the exception of Johnny Manson at linebacker, I don't know that a single position coach has done a good job with their side of the ball in a way that makes you think their team, that side of the ball is competing at an elite level. So it's a tough one. Like, this one leaves a real sting and a real mark because it's such an indictment of what's left in the final 7 games of this season.
We see the super chats coming in. We will get to those. Jason, your thoughts on 29-21 Florida?
Yeah, Catch pretty much summed it up. It doesn't look bad if you're looking at the final score. Okay, a 1-score game, but Florida dominated this game. They just did from start to finish. I'm watching this game. We're up here at TCH. I'm talking to people, and I was like, this is a pretty bad football team. It just is. I think average at best, especially offensively. The offensive line was atrocious today. They got dominated. They got dominated in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Arch Manning, he needs more help. Okay, the offensive line didn't do him any favors, but Arch wasn't good. He wasn't good today. I've been taking a lot of crap from people because I've been saying, I need to see Texas do it against a decent team. I think I had them 6th or 7th or whatever in the SEC. That might have been too generous, Chad. I don't know where I'll have them ranked when I do my rankings this week, but this is not a good football team. It's maybe an average football team. I think the defense was exposed today. We came into this game saying, oh, defense. It's so great. It's so great. It's so great. Well, this defense played Ohio State week 1 when they had the training wheels on. Okay. Ohio State's a different team now. I don't care what they've done against these other teams. This is a bad Florida offense that hadn't been able to score on anybody. And there were times when Florida made it look really easy to move the football against this Texas defense. I posted my thoughts already on Orange Bloods, and I said I hate to make too much out of 1 week.
It's not 1 week, though.
It's exactly, Catch. It's not. Does this team get to 8 wins? I don't know. If you look at the schedule, I don't know where those wins come from. So, technically, I said, hey, their goals are still on the table. They can still play for the SEC championship. You do that, you win it. You're in the college football playoffs. But if we're being realistic, that looks like a pipe dream after what we saw today, combined with the games before today. Disappointing performance. And one thing I'll disagree with Catch is to a slight degree, said, hey, that's not the thing that, I don't remember the exact words, that was most bothersome. Well, it is. It feels like the season's over to me after today.
Well, but like 7-5 is on the table. Like that's
the season's over. If that's what we're talking, 7-5, 8-4, the season's over. It's the enjoyment of this season is over, and we'll still watch every game. People will be in the chats. We'll be here at TCH, but when you factor in the expectations, the enjoyment of this season kind of went out the window possibly today.
Well, I tell you what, Texas will go, Chad, this next week. The amount of pressure that Steve Sarkisian and this team will be on, the talk and the conversations about, you guys are going to get your fucking asses whipped. Like, that will be the talk.
By a backup quarterback, maybe.
Yeah. No matter who.
To block and tackle and say what you want. Like, the thing is, we knew Florida was good up front. We talked about that all week long. We knew that was a matchup to keep an eye on, and that if it went bad, that's how this game can really go sideways. Now, we didn't think, I thought, other than Colin Simmons, there's not a single Texas defensive lineman for me today that showed up. And
that was shocking. Yeah.
I can't name a guy that made a play. And they really missed Malik Muhammad on the defensive side of the ball today. Like, really missed him. Like, they took advantage of his absence a lot in this game. And if anybody was wondering what his value is to this defense, I think we found out today. It didn't matter whether it was Grayson Littleton or if it was Kobe Black or if it was Cade Phillips. They all got some of the business from Dallas Wilson on Saturday. In fact, I wrote about this in my column, and this will be – I remember once in a Texas spring game, Marcus Griffin got trucked by somebody in the scrimmage, and I wrote about it once, and I remember Mike got so mad. He got so mad that I called out Marcus getting run over to such an extent that what are we, like 20 years later, and I can still remember how mad Marcus is off the hook. I have never seen a Texas defensive back punk as bad as Kobe Black was on the Dallas Wilson touchdown play. Like, he literally got thrown to the ground, and then the guy just ran past. I've never seen that before, and I've watched a lot of bad Texas football. I don't think I've ever seen that. Like, this defense they gave up 27 today. And Chad, what have I said for the last few weeks? There will be a couple of times this season. Maybe it ends up being more than a couple. But it will happen. It happened in the Vanderbilt game. We knew if it's going to happen on the road in the SECs when we might see this defense give up more than 17 points. And then the question would be, on a day when they give up 27, can the offense do what it was able to do at Vandy last year, but not able to do against Georgia at home, right? Score enough points to offset a rare, and it's not even like Texas was bad in the regular season last year against Georgia when they gave up 31. It was mitigating circumstances on that. But the answer today was no, this Texas offense, and I think that will be the answer, I think, for the rest of the season. Texas gives up 27. It feels like they'll lose a game. And we didn't quite know that, right? It was like, well, if the defense gives up 27, can you count on the offense to get you 30? And we were a little bit like, maybe, I don't know. It feels very dicey, right? And then today, it doesn't feel dicey. It feels like an expectation that will go unfulfilled. And weirdly, I came out of Arch was really good in the third quarter. Really good. I mean, he made some plays. He's getting hit on everything. He's making some throws. It started to feel like, okay, maybe we're having a growing up moment. That he turns the ball over a couple times in the fourth quarter. Look, I've already said Arch is not a very good quarterback. Like, he's not a plus college quarterback yet. But I didn't think he was wretched today. I thought there were a half dozen players on that Texas offense that were wretched today. Wretched. Most of those offensive linemen can raise their hands. They don't even have a left guard anymore. Like, that position got nuked. Nick Brooks came onto the field. I don't know. He had like 17 penalties in about 2.5 quarters.
Several whip blocks.
They're so bad. And Sark has to be asked the questions that the Texas media has been terrified to ask him. We still haven't had, even before today, Sark, why did you not go to the portal to make the offensive line better? Explain it to us. And it didn't have to be this way. It didn't have to be this way at running back. It didn't have to be this way at wide receiver. Oh, by the way, Emmett Mosley, you got him in the portal. You finally got him on the field. Kind of looked like the best receiver on the team. The guys that they have brought back at running back, receiver, tight end, and offensive line, none of them good enough. And they decided we need like 19 defensive tackles. Hey, we've got an extra scholarship we can give to a walk-on, and just in case, Matthew Caldwell can have one too. They made some critically poor personnel decisions in the offseason, and it's going to be the downfall of this season. Not the play of Arch Manning, which isn't good enough. It can go in there with it, but I think Texas wins today they have a chance to win if they've got two more good offensive linemen that just aren't terrible. If they've got a running back that can gain more than 6 yards on a carry. Like, we can't pretend like we didn't spend the entire offseason talking about the virtues of addressing some of these positions, and that we didn't talk about, did they replace Jaden Blue at running back? Like, if they have anybody that can get 12 yards on any given play, it is like Arch isn't good enough, but all that does is disguise the fact that he is surrounded by not one player on this offense right now, maybe other than Trevor Goosby, who I think is a starting caliber plus player in the SEC.
All right, I'm looking at 21 super chats. Anwar going to check in from the swamp at some point. And shout out to the Lowy Law Firm for sponsoring us as always. Let's start with William with a $4.99. So do we sacrifice wins for development? Too many guys around the country doing what our dudes ain't doing. May lose Lacey or Bell at this rate.
Yeah, Bell.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, you're still, I mean, come on, man. The coaches aren't going to, we're sitting here burying the team, but the coaches aren't going to bury the team. They're going to still think they can win every game.
They think they're developing the team, guys.
Oscar $9.99. One play, but Caldwell looks so much more poised. Here we go. Than Arch in that one play in the pocket. O-line is bad. OFC, but Caldwell showed something Arch couldn't.
One thing about Arch, like I said it all game, it's like he holds the ball so long. Even on that last drive, when you're supposed to be in hurry up, it's like, I mean, I don't know. I'm not sitting here watching the all 11 films. So I don't know if these plays were taking so long to develop it. It seems like he took so long to find his read and find his target and get rid of the ball. So,
yeah, and that it's interesting. I mean, that's one play from Caldwell. So I think we all know kind of what that play is. It was 8 do a good pass. 10 from Patrick. This team got exposed today. O-line is horrible. Defense looked inept. 5 losses minimum for this team. Whew, it was pathetic. All right,
I mean, 5 losses seems pretty reasonable to me.
Patrick not obviously enjoying what he was seeing
Jason,
today.
they're going to play more teams that can do what Florida did up front.
Right.
That was always the scare. I even talked about it coming out of Ohio State. The thing about, because the offensive line was not wretched against Ohio State, and the point that I kept trying to make after that game was that Ohio State defensive line is not as good as it was a year ago, and I don't think they're better than the Florida, the Oklahoma, the Georgia. It kind of remains to be seen, but I know Georgia will bring some dudes that'll do what Florida guys can do. And then Texas A&M, like all those teams have got all those. They're not all great defenses, but their front fours are all full of guys that are going to play in the NFL.
And they got much better offenses than what Texas faced today,
especially if all you have to do is bring 4.
That was so disturbing today.
We all know the greatest defenses we could all talk about, college and pro. They're usually great because they can rush 4 and do anything they want on the back end, and that's all Florida did today. Just 4 guys over and over again. Jake Hall, to that point, $1.99. What the F do we pay Kyle Flood for? Yeah, the offensive line obviously going to get some hell after that one.
Honest, like, look, if Kyle Flood wasn't Steve Sarkisian's guy, this is a sackable offense this season. I think they've thrown this season away by not addressing the offensive line at all. They thought they needed help at the backup quarterback position with 2 guys already there. They were like, yo, Trey Owens, we don't trust him. Let's go get a guy that we don't even think is really good, but he's a warm body. Like, I'm not saying that was a bad call. I'm saying they had bigger needs. They had bigger needs than to give Marshall Levinson a scholar. Like, that just seems so dumb. So dumb. Because you can't tell me they literally played. What did we watch last week in the Oregon-Penn State game? Oregon started 3 guys on its offensive line from the portal, and only one of them came from a major power. They started a guy from Texas State at right tackle. So you can't tell me there was nobody available that would have made this unit better, because they don't have to be better than the guys that Alabama or Georgia has. They have to be better than the crappy guys you have. So it's not like, well, we didn't see any All-Americans available. Is there anybody that'll be better at left guard than Nick Brooks? No? Then sign 8 of them. They haven't even really had injuries. They've lost Andre Kojo. Everybody else is available. Everybody else. They have not even had injuries, really. All of the starters are healthy. They lost their number 4 offensive tackle. That's it. This group is the group they knew they would have. It's not like, well, Brandon Baker got hurt and Trevor Gooseby has a high ankle sprain and Cole Hudson isn't playing, and what are you going to do? These are the guys that they thought this is what we're going to do with. And it did not take a rocket scientist for us to know, hey, Cole Hudson's been pretty terrible. Just FYI. Neto Umuzalo, if you're going to count on him to be the starter, which they were, he literally hasn't been good in 4 years. So can you do that? You know, you just start moving all the way around in every position. If Kyle Flood isn't Steve Sarkisian's boy, this is a season-defining personnel decision. And it will damn them all season long. This offensive line is not going to get significantly better. Brandon Baker, I think he's going to get better, but he's going to take some lumps like he did today along the way. None of those inside guys are worth anything. None of them. None of them. They're just rearranging the deck chairs of the Titanic in that interior. And it will not get better all season long. And so, yes, Jason, that's why the worst part of today isn't the loss. It's that this isn't getting better, not sizably.
All right, back to Super Chats, $4.99. Arch looks, dumb in the pocket. The offensive line is bad, but he does not know how to consistently play in this offense. He looks lost even when he does have time.
I don't know what quarterback plays well today.
I mean,
Arch wasn't good, but you're going to have to tell me who the magic and don't tell me Quinn Ewers. You're going to have to tell me who the magic quarterback is that with no running game, a terrible offensive line, and, no real help at tight end. Jack Andrews is just a guy. And Cal is not the same thing as SEC, it turns out. And, the receivers are okay. But, who's doing I don't know. Do you know why DJ Lagway looked great today? Because Dallas Wilson was the best player on the field. Apparently, Texas bought the wrong 5-star receivers last year.
Texas tried to recruit him, Cats. They tried to
all
flip him.
Of the other 5-star receivers are making plays, and all of the Texas 5-star, Texas bought the wrong guys.
That's
and you know
salt
what?
in the wound, but he was committed to Oregon, and Texas tried to flip him from Oregon. Now he ends up flipping to Florida. And
they bought the wrong guys in the portal. And we talked about it. This is the thing. The crazy thing is, and this is why Sark and his staff, I think, have done a terrible job. All of these issues. I mean, we do daily shows on Texas football. And Jason and myself, we're writing daily content. It's nonstop. It really is like death by analysis sometimes, as much as we talk about the issues that exist and trying to find a new way to talk about all of these things. Every single thing that we're talking about, it's not like they weren't brought up before the season. Running backs, receivers, offensive line, Arch, all of it. They were all concerns. And here we are 5 games in, almost at the halfway point of the season. All of the concerns are worse than we could have thought. They haven't coached up anything. There's not one area that we went, that could, hear me out. That could be a problem. It might be. Just FYI, we want to throw it out there. Every single, this could be a problem. Every one of those has been, on a scale of 1 to 10, a 10 on the disaster meter. A 10. And when you stack one bad thing after another and they're all at a 10 on the bad scale, you end up losing games like you lost today. Because it wasn't just Arch. If Texas had come back and tied this game, it would have felt like the most undeserving comeback tie since that Texas Tech game where it looked like Texas was going to lose. And then they drew it into overtime and then the fumble, but it would have felt very similar to that. It was like, wait a minute, Sam Ehlinger was awful. And then he was really good in the fourth quarter, put themselves into a position to steal the game. Florida deserved to win today. Texas was so sloppy. They're so undisciplined. Sark did two things in the media this week that looked to me sketchy in retrospect. Number one, and I called it out when it happened, dude, your team commits penalties nonstop, and almost none of them can be debated. Not one penalty today did I look at and go, oh, come on, Rev, stop screwing. No, it's a bad football team that makes a bunch of stupid mistakes. And don't point to the rest of the country on Monday and say, I know you guys want to talk about us not having, committing as many penalties, but like there can be penalties everywhere. Not as much as you, coach, just FYI, like just so you know. And then that whole 9-3 thing, was he giving us a heads up? Like, this team sucks. And FYI, guys, like, maybe we need to people suggested he's telling us that this team's not going to the playoffs.
It's like a preemptive strike.
Yes.
Yeah.
Were they right? Because we are not very far away from like we need to get the seniors to a bowl game. Bowl eligible.
No, man, we're back to those days. Oh no.
Look, man, they could be 3-3 next Saturday with not a quality performance in the bunch. So, look, this is Steve Sarkisian. I know that you think that you were introduced to Texas football during that initial 5-7 season. I think Steve Sarkisian is officially the Texas football coach today. What he is about to experience from the fan base, from the online vitriol that will be spread, every decision will be questioned. The media that has been afraid to ask him simple personnel questions all year long, they're going to start asking them. And the thing is, Sark does not have good answers. Sark, why didn't you take any offensive linemen in the portal? Don't fucking say you couldn't find any that were good enough. Like everybody else did. Oregon did. Oregon went to Texas State and didn't just take a kicker. They took their starting right tackle. There were actually guys that can play everywhere. Texas decided for the fourth year in a row, and really for the second time in really sketchy fashion, it was stupid in 2022 to not take a portal offensive lineman. It meant they had to play Cole Hudson as a true freshman way before he was ever ready. It meant they had to play DJ Campbell before he was ever ready, which is why he didn't start most of the season. And they started Cole Hudson. And you could look all over that offensive line, and they all treated those guys like they were Kelvin Banks. And maybe that's the problem. Sark listens to Kyle Flood, and Kyle Flood keeps telling him that those players are better than they are. And I guess Sark's eyeballs don't work.
All right, more super chats coming. $20 from Lane. Offensive line cause 1, defensive line cause 1A. Time to hit the portal for offensive linemen. Yeah, there's not really a portal thing right now, but yeah, Lane. If you can't block and you can't tackle, there's a lot of problems going on. 20 from the. What does that say? Anyway, Ketch said 1 week ago that Vegas has Texas as a 10-point favorite over OU. How about now? What is that line in y'all's mind right now?
I don't know.
We're assuming Mateer's not playing.
Hold on. Let me look and see if they've updated it.
I think it'd probably almost be like a pick 'em.
OU by 3, OU 2.5. Yeah. Do you pull it all the way down that far?
I'm seeing it at this exact moment as anywhere between -4. Texas is either 5 points or 5.5 points favorite.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Okay.
That's on the current. That's literally the lines as they sit right now.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's interesting. This is Patrick with a $2. 3 more winnable games on the schedule? Question mark. Oh, Patrick going all the way that way.
I mean, Vegas is going to tell us that this is a winnable game.
Winnable games on the schedule: Kentucky, Mississippi State.
That Mississippi State game is not going to be easy because that will be a road game, and this team has no benefit of the doubt. And the scary thing is, the defense doesn't get benefit of the doubt now.
Well, that's the one thing. Let's forget everything you've talked about offensively, Catch. I agree with all of it. Isn't the biggest shock of today that defense looked like that? Is there anything that you saw that shocked you more than that defense getting gutted that way when I thought I could trust them? I was dead wrong about that. I thought I could trust them, and I couldn't. Anything shock you more than that, Jason?
Not really. The way they gutted them between the tackles was –
Catch says there's one thing. What was it, Catch?
Now, look, it's part of it, okay?
Okay.
I thought that was the worst first quarter of the Steve Sarkisian era. They went outscored 10-0 on a game they had 2 weeks to prepare for. Season's on the line. And I look, guys like Michael Taff are their best players. And Michael Taff was like point shaving bad in the first quarter. Started that first drive off by running. Texas defensively creates a fumble on the first play of the game.
Oh, my God, I know.
The ball's sitting on the turf. And look, that's where Michael Taft's got to get on the ball, not scoop it up and score. Get on the ball. He doesn't. Florida runs the next 7 minutes off the clock.
Yeah.
They get down inside the red zone. How does that drive end? Michael Taft, knives into the backfield, has got a tackle for loss completely lined up, misses the tackle, guy scores a touchdown. Like, when your best players are as much of responsible for what's happened. Like, I was shocked I didn't feel like one Texas player in the first quarter other than Ty Anthony Smith. I didn't think anybody looked like they wanted to play. Florida, I wrote about this, and I think it was true all day long, and this is the biggest indictment of Steve Sarkisian on a plate full of indictments today. From the moment that first kickoff in the first quarter, Florida looked like a team that was willing to do anything and lay out in any way it was needed to win the game. And Texas came out and looked like a team that was going to watch Florida lay out and do everything that was needed to win the game. And that shocked me. I could see Texas playing poorly. I can see Texas defense having a bad day. Nobody on that team showed up ready to play football today. And not even their former walk-on, senior All-America coaches on the field, safeties. None of them showed up ready to play. That shocked me. Not that they even lost, not even the way that they lost. That this team looked like it could take Florida for granted. They looked like they thought they could just show up today and like run some plays and do some things. And I think they know now. If they didn't know before today, they know now.
Jay, thank you for the $4.99 into the old tip jar. We appreciate you. Thanks to everybody for jumping in the Specs chat. Over 1,000 of you in there right now. $5 from Justin. Quinn had a better first year than Arch has had so far, but we know the O-line needs to improve and protect better, and defense needs to stop the run.
You guys do not want to see Quinn Ewers behind this offensive line.
No, good Lord, no. I don't want to Catch, you said it earlier. I don't want to see anybody but, like, I don't know, Michael Vick in his prime.
I mean, Quinn actually made some plays with his feet today.
Who could survive this? Archie Manning? Fran Tarkenton? I'm an old man. Let's just throw out guys who could run. I don't know.
Arch Manning does not have Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell, Gunnar Helm, Jatavian Sanders, Matthew Golden, a healthy Isaiah Bond. He doesn't even have a Silas Bolden on this team. So, and he doesn't have Jaden Blue in the backfield. And I just don't know what Sark thinks he has in these running backs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Catch, I don't know. I'm not even going to say the name out loud, but I don't know what's sadder at times. The fact that an offensive lineman is committed a penalty, or when you watch the replay and realize how long it takes a Texas running back to get to the sideline. How long does that take? It's like he needs to stop in the middle and catch a bus. It's crazy. It's unbelievable. Just that the lack of suddenness at that position. Mark, $10. Longhorns and the Cowboys have the same issue. Oh, Lord. Once you wear the star or the horns, your belly is full and your hunger is gone. In their minds, they've already won
That's
enough.
Unfair. This team was in the playoffs in the semifinals 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Now, I think Steve Sarkisian's had a bad read on this team. Since the beginning. What he's thought he's had and what he has are two different things. I think he's got to inspect his culture. Where I think Mark is wrong, this team showed bad culture today. It showed bad culture by not showing up ready to play. It showed bad culture by being sloppy. It showed bad culture by not being better. I think it showed bad culture by not being coached better. That's part of culture too. Part of culture is your staff that's paid $15+ million combined as a staff to be elite. Like, get your groups better.
Well,
like
and also
Kyle Flood is stealing money this season because that offensive line is not getting better. Like putting Nick Brooks in at left guard, that's like the Hail Mary. That's the Hail Mary. They know he's not good. They know he's not ready. But the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same goddamn thing over and over and over again, seeing the same exact results over and over and over again, and expecting that things would change. So Connor Stroh, come on out of the game. Nick Brooks comes in. It took about, I don't even know if Nick Brooks is going to be good in 3 years. He's not good now. And we're at the grasping at straws point of the offensive line experiment. And let me say this again. They are not dealing with injuries. They're not.
Right.
Whatever this is not injury induced.
Here's another point, Catch, I think that's to think of. The SEC sets up these bye weeks on certain games where both teams get it. This felt to me like a team that took every ounce out of the bye week that they could against a team that seemed to get nothing out of it. And when you do that in this conference, that's what it looks like.
Chad, they had 2 weeks to get ready for this game, and they looked like they stayed back. Body language in the first quarter, the amount of standing around and watching was embarrassing. This Texas team actually does deserve some credit for, I think, fighting back in the second half. They showed, I thought, a lot more commitment to the task late than they did early. But if they showed up and played early like they did, I thought, in the second half from a mentality standpoint, they're not in the position that they're in. It was a total team loss. It really was. And I thought, look, we can call this whatever we want to. It is the slightest bit of damn praise I can probably give. I thought this was the second best Arch performance of the season. Like, I saw more good of him in this game than I did in the other games, other than Sam Houston State, which really doesn't even count. It really speaks to how poor he was in those other games. But there was stuff in this you can build on. Honestly, if this performance had been surrounded by 3 pretty good performances against bad teams, and then we were just looking at it, we would say, well, this is pretty standard for a young, inexperienced quarterback on the road. It wouldn't seem abnormal. And I think we'd be focusing on all of the other parts that really didn't work. It's that he wasn't good in those other games. Only was good against Sam Houston. And then this performance wasn't good enough. So while there were little moments where you could go, that's probably the best I've seen Arch all season, there were still too many moments where he threw wobblers. He made some bad decisions. He threw the ball into double coverage. I mean, there were moments you'd want to get back. And Mama always said there would be days where young, inexperienced quarterbacks would have performances like this. What you can't surround those performances with is abject failure everywhere else on the field. You lose those games, and Texas did today.
$50 super chat from Barb's 10. Great to see you today, Barb's. The headlines will be Arch isn't the man-ing. I see what you did. But this is a team management problem. All groups were exposed. Texas stays in this game because Arch stepped up in the pocket and ran for his life. Still a great hang, Chad and Jason. Great to see you, Barb's, today.
By the way, I'm so mad. Today would have been dreadful, Chad, because I wanted to come today. But I would have had to get there real early and watch Liverpool lose to Chelsea with the Chelsea bastards in the club.
I was going to say, I was going to say, our guy Ryan, the owner here at TCH Social, he mentioned that to me. He's a Chelsea guy, and yeah, that would have been bad for you.
No, he texted me.
Yeah, he told me he was going to. I told him, hey, I don't know.
He didn't get the message I wanted to send.
You didn't. That's good. You showed some control. Good job.
I did. I did. You know what? I don't always, but I did.
It's a good thing. Yeah.
And then to be there in person today to watch this, and then having to drive back on a day when I've just been dealing. In the end, I made the right decision. It'd be miserable to be there right now and then have to drive back to the Woodlands tonight. Yeah. So thank you guys.
The only positive today, catch you missed out. There was some real eye candy waitress.
Speaking of some miserable, got to be miserable to be a Texas fan, go all the way to the swamp, and now you got to get back home. Speaking of the swamp, Anwar Richardson is there. He's checking in from the swamp after Texas falls 29-21. Anwar, what do we start with? What Sark said to the media, or your thoughts on the game? I'll leave it up to you.
I mean, they'll be two in the same, right?
Okay.
So we'll do a little Sark media first, and then do this. Of course, it's fun. I haven't been on a post-game show in like a few weeks.
Look how early you are, Anwar. It's like 40 minutes in.
I told you I love the road games. I told you get in and out, but when Sark's at home, it's like, hey, Mom, hey, lady, hey, everybody, hey, Grandma, let's take all these pictures, and we all wait forever. This is me getting down, doing the interviews, coming upstairs, setting up. I mean, literally, it's quick, it's fast. So I'll try not to disappoint, much like the Texas team did. So I'll start with Sark. I'll do a couple of house cleaning issues, and then we'll get into the meat of the thing. Parker Livingstone did an X-ray that was negative. He did say that Arch had a stinger on his shoulder at one point during the game, but then he was fine, so he came back and he played. And so that was it from like an injury perspective as far as anything that he discussed. And then he got into it, and as far as basically saying like, hey, they've got to figure out what's going on with the offensive line. Said that they didn't play well on either side of the line this game, offense or defense. And then he said that because I asked him about the offensive line and coupled with the run game, and it's kind of like a chicken or the egg. Like what's going on? Is it the running backs or is it offensive line? And basically he's like, well, I thought we were running okay, but then we would have a decent run and then get called back because of a penalty, right? So hey, listen. My job is just to deliver what's said.
What? What game was he watching?
Decent run.
Apparently, he says there was anytime he felt like they had a decent run, it got called back because of a penalty, right? So
I will agree with him there. I mean, we may be stretching the definition of the word decent, but I remember a couple of those.
They did have a 5-yard. You know what? The one time Wisner got to the corner and he gained like 4 yards, they did call Baker for holding on that play.
So 4 yards is
ding. Jeff Ketchum.
He said that they did. He said sometimes when we talked about the offensive line, I think he said there, sometimes they had some stunts on them, and but overall, he wish they would have blocked that front four, a little bit better. And then he's like, said they've got to, find, he said at some point because Florida was getting so much penetration that it kind of made them a one-dimensional kind of team. And when you're a one-dimensional kind of team, that it makes it really tough to win those games. So we talked about offensive line, the defense, obviously not playing as well as he would have hoped for and expected. Let's see what he said about the defense. Let me just do a quick search to see what the questions was about the defensive struggles, because that was there. He said, He said they ran ball enough. He said they ran the ball enough to where they had to play a little bit of run defense, calling in passes. Maybe that's not it. He said they called a good game. They called a good game defensively. Somebody had to ask. Oh, someone asked him about why they weren't so good third down defensively. Said he didn't play great. We got out of our gaps a couple of times in the run game. Didn't get off didn't get off blocks the way that he had been accustomed to seeing them. And he said he thought their running backs did a really good job of falling forward. He said, we were making contact at 3 or 4 yards, and they need to fall forward and get about 5, 6, or 7. And then they got into some really manageable third downs, is what he felt. It's interesting. He says that. That part is true. I personally felt like, from a jump cut perspective, as relates to those running backs, I thought they did a really good job. I thought they did a really good job of following their blockers, but I also thought they did a really good job of jumping back in, whether it's in or out. And I thought, to me, that's what stood out. So that was just my personal thing. Then I think at the very end, Kirk Bowles asked him, do they have to reshape the season now that they have 2 losses? And his answer to that was, well, they are only a 1-loss SEC team, and that there is still plenty of football to be played.
It's true.
Guys. So he said they're a 1-loss.
For the record, I was not me that said that. For the record.
I know it was Jason. He said, we got a pivotal game next week against Oklahoma. We got to get ourselves ready for back on them, sit here and play. They need to focus it and get back. So I think that was about 10 minutes or so, kind of summarize with that. As far as what I think, there's a lot. Oh, he did say Arch. He did, from a positive perspective. He thought Arch played well. He thought that Arch was gutsy, was a ballsy performance by him. He said there's some learning lessons, obviously, for Arch, like not taking the sack, those kind of things that you can't do. He said even some of the interceptions, he was just trying to make a play kind of thing. So he thought overall Arch played well. I don't disagree with him. But it's interesting, the past several weeks, for me, it's been about Arch. And I look at it from an Arch perspective before I talk about big picture. I just look at it, that offensive line was so horrible that I'm not quite sure what any quarterback could have done when you look at it, because they just played so bad. Like, they were so bad. And it's going to get to my big picture thing in a second. But from a defensive perspective, and then you guys may have already talked about this, Florida, it only had 3 sacks entering this game. They had 6. They had 6 tonight when they only had 3.
And Texas had only given up 1 per game. It was the max, right? Like there was 1. It was like 3 or 4 sacks total, right? It wasn't more than 1 per game. Whatever this offensive line hadn't been, they had not given up 2 sacks in 1 game, I don't believe.
No.
And then they give up 6.
I don't know that. But then they also, the other stat that you can't ignore is that there were 8 quarterback hurries as well. So, again, when I evaluate Arch, where I may have been critical the past couple of weeks, I have to say this dude literally is fighting for his life versus an offensive line that can't run block, they can't pass protect. The guy's getting massacred out there. I mean, just getting killed. Had that been Quinn, he probably would have been injured. Like, Quinn would have been gone for like probably a few weeks based off of that. So thank God that Arch is a big guy. And I say this as you guys know I'm a Quinn guy. I tell you he would have probably been out for 2 or 3 weeks with a separated shoulder or something like that. So I give Arch all the credit in the world. Now, one of my bigger picture thoughts, if I'm allowed to keep talking, is it's a tweet that Ketch put out. But unless you want to react to Sark. If you want to react to Sark, we can react to Sark. And then
you're on a roll.
It's a tweet that you put out, and I can't avoid it, which is this was unavoidable. And why I say it was unavoidable is you had inexperience at receiver, And you knew that. You knew you had inexperience at receiver, and you had a formula that you had went to. You had a formula that you said, go out, get a really good receiver in the portal, multiple receivers in the portal, quite honest with you. And then because last year you said, hey, we ain't got enough playmakers. That's why we have to go out and get these guys. And this year you don't do that. And so you don't necessarily have the dynamic playmakers in there. You don't have a dynamic running back. There's not a dynamic running back that's out there. That you saw Florida and what they were able to do. And Florida wasn't known for running the ball that great, but you couldn't tell it when you looked at, the Ba at least. He looked like he knew what the hell he was doing. And so you don't have that dynamic thing. You can't tell me, well, CJ Baxter. We don't know what CJ Baxter is. So I don't want to hear much about the CJ Baxter thing. You went out and got a tight end. You also knew that the whole notion that we were just at plug and play offensive line, right? Oh man, you lost 3 guys in the NFL draft, but look at these guys here. They're probably going to be better than the guys who left. There was so many things that they could have done to make this team better that just wasn't done, and it becomes unavoidable. And then the last thing I'll say, I'll let you guys jump in, is from a defensive perspective, one of the things that we had talked about, and I kept saying was, this defense is not going to hold everybody they play until 10 points. It's just not going to happen. Some teams going to get off. They're going to need the offense to come around. The offense, the end of the game will give you a little bit more confidence in it. But the offense, particularly the offensive line, is horrible. And the defense had a game that we said, ooh, this could happen, and it happened. And, now we're looking at a team that it's probably, 9-3 if everything goes well. 8-4 is on the table. It just kind of there's a lot of things. I know I said a lot, but I haven't been on a show in a while. So so there you go.
Making up for lost time.
Yeah.
Catch your reaction there.
I feel like Anwar and I are, for the first time this season, maybe in the most unison that we've been in. Anwar, as it related to Arch, I was like, I don't think we can say he was good today. Like his final quarterback rating's 140, turns the ball over a couple of times. There were some things that he threw some ducks and some balls into coverages that he probably shouldn't have. But if we take Sam Houston State away, just because Sam Houston State is trash, that was his best quarterback performance of the season. And I know that's kind of faint praise, but I did kind of walk away like not as grumbly about Arch as I am everything else. Like he wasn't good, but I don't know what the hell our expectations could be for any quarterback in the world who's getting hit or he's being rushed every time he finishes his drop. Like it was just a revolving door of players coming at his face. If you told me it was going to be like that, I actually probably would have thought it was going to be worse. So I guess, and I think Anwar, you and I are on the same page. It's just hard to watch this team right now and realize or not think so much of this could have been preventable. What were they seeing and thinking? It's the one thing Sark has never been really asked or been put in a position to explain. What did you think you had at all of these? Like, what did you think you had at running back that you didn't need an explosive guy to replace Blue? What did you think that you had at receiver that you didn't think I didn't need Bolden or Golden or Bond? And what were you seeing on this offensive line that nobody else saw except you guys? You're the only ones. And I don't know. The other thing I said, Anwar, is I know that he went through that 5-7 season. I think today is the day that Steve Sarkisian will find out what it's like to really be the coach at Texas. Like,
yes. The honeymoon's over. There's no hot seat there, but the honeymoon is officially over because now, all the things that people would give you a pass on. Hey, Steve, maybe you inherited Herman's players, who, by the way, ended up being really good players when it's all said and done.
There's
But
a lot of
it was
NFL dudes.
a lot of dudes, okay? But you're like, you get there's so many passes that were given. Hey, it's your first year. It's a new coach, new system, and all these kind of things, right? And I'm okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for asking. How long will it be there?
Until.
Okay, let me know when it gets low. Okay, thank you. They have pizza over there, and the guy wanted me to know if I wanted a slice.
Don't miss the spread at the Swamp. Come on.
So, I mean, I guess the whole, O-ring light and me talking to the microphone probably didn't indicate I might be doing a show or something. But the fact that he wanted to make sure, hey, dude, you're cooking over here. Do you want some pizza?
Anwar,
Really
Anwar,
nice of him.
Anwar, if I had $1 for every time an old lady in a grocery store asked me a question while I was doing a radio show, I'd have a lot more money than I have right now.
That's true. But so you had all the passes there, right? Of all these things, and now you're kind of at the point where people expect things, and so you take a step backwards, right? Because you went to the semifinals 2 straight years, so when Sark starts saying things, Catch, about, hey, 9-3 ain't really a bad season, right? And that's the thing I really honed in on last week, because I was like, this ain't by accident. This is not by accident, and that's why I posted it on that Wednesday. That's why I went on it on Thursday. My ear perked up. It's like, he knows something. He knows something, and so, but yes, Catch, you go 9-3. First of all, he doesn't want to do, Catch, before I even freaking get to 9-3. Your ass better not lose next week. Like before I get to the end of the season, I could go, if we're doing a show next Saturday and we're talking about how Oklahoma won and we're talking about a 3-loss Texas team this close in the season, you talk about how you want to start a riot? Not nothing losing your job. But now, we're at that point now where people are pissed at us, right? Because they're like, see, so I know what this looks like. They're getting pissed at us, which means they're therefore pissed at the program, and there's a carryover there. What else? I got more.
Anwar, do you know what Heather said to me at halftime?
What's that?
She said, "Are we at the stage of the season where they start to blame you guys because the team's not playing well?"
That happened 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, 2 games ago.
I was going to say, wasn't that UTEP?
Even when they won,
Wasn't that the
Yes,
UTEP game?
Of course,
I thought that was yes. I think that
No,
was
we're already getting that. We're already at the you guys don't ask the tough questions thing. But when we ask the tough questions, it's like, oh, you guys are assholes because you always want to ask these tough questions and you're bothering my coach. And now it's like, why don't you guys just kill him? Like, I don't understand. So we're at that point now.
Because I thought the 9-3 question was asshole-ish. Like that was a troublemaker question.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, because I know I saw the show where initially I thought he was going to shoot it down, and then he talked for like 5 minutes.
Yes,
he embraced it. He he grabbed on
5 minutes about 9-3. And that was my indicator that he knows. He knows when you have to say, hey, I think the fan base needs to rethink what success really is. I'm like, all right, dude. Yes, like it is. And so,
hey, Anwar, this is a Texas fan base that clowned Aggie baseball because it was a preseason number 1. And got knocked out of the rankings. We are if Texas survives and finds a way to stay in the top 25 after this week, that will be the thing that's on the line. And that besides being 3-3 and all the other stuff, like there's not just a normal amount of like Penn State's going to get some bad ribbing.
Yeah.
What's going to be reserved for Texas is going to be different, and it will be deserved.
It's going to be worse because you have Manning as your quarterback, and that was supposed to be the thing that put this program over the top. it was look. The thing that's holding this program back is the quarterback. But once you get the new guy in, look how much better this program is going to be. And the fact that we're talking about Texas, it's only been 2 road games. They haven't won either one of them. Okay, so the fact that we're there so far, the fact that there's a progression catch that you and I used to have, right? Seasons of expectations. Then you lose. You know exactly where I'm going. Then you lose.
I've already said it.
You lose the non-conference game, and all your goals are still ahead of you. And then you lose the conference game, and it's like there's still plenty of things left. There's still plenty of ways. And then we're in November talking about getting seniors to a bowl game.
Oh, there it is. Yep. Yeah. You guys really are on the same page right now.
Did
you say that?
Couple, Chad.
Did you say that?
You really did. He said it earlier. He really did.
That's where it's at. And by the way, so that's one. And Jason, I want to say for you, while you should take no victory lap whatsoever, Jason, but for everybody who gave you shit in your power rankings about where you weren't 100% sold on Texas. So when people start saying, oh, the media doesn't tell us this or it doesn't tell us that, Jason, you can say, I had them ranked like, what was it, 8th or 9th this week? What did you have them?
Was 7?
7 this week. I think 9 the week before.
It'd been 9, it's up to 7, yeah.
Yeah. So
where do you rank them this week, though? Eesh.
Shit, I don't know. And the thing is, what's in the scary part for me, guys, the scary part is that Florida isn't the best team in the SEC. We haven't even gotten there. We've only gotten started. And this is a team that, look, I was telling you guys in our team's message, I know a lot of these Florida riders because I used to live in Tampa. And so a lot of these guys I know, some of these guys I grew up with, right? So they covered the team. And they before the game were like, man, yeah, it's probably going to be pretty bad. They haven't been able to do anything. And at halftime, I saw them, they were shocked at what they were seeing. I'm like, man, we haven't seen the team look like this at all. But they're like, they'll probably blow it when it's all said and done. And then, of course, they end up winning. And we've only crossed into Florida, which we considered to be one of the worst teams in the conference. We haven't even gotten to the Oklahoma States. That's actually a better team, or a Mississippi State, what that looks like. Or I know Vanderbilt kind of got their asses kicked today, but and we haven't. Someone texted me and they're like, well, we just got to make sure we don't lose to Georgia, right? Because United. I was like, dude, you know how long far away Georgia is? Forget Georgia, you better freaking worry about November.
4 games before that point.
You got a lot more games you need to worry about before you start worrying about we can't drop one to Georgia. Boss, man, not drop one freaking next week, or Mississippi State or anything like that. So it's a concern for me. All right, I know I've talked a lot. All right, go ahead.
All right, here we go. Super chatters, stop right now. I got 29 of them. Exactly the super chats that Florida scored points. I swear I didn't plan that. Here we go. So anything that comes in now will not be read. Let's get some out of the way. $4.99 from UK Dean. Okay. I'm done with Arch. Wow. I miss Quinn. This team won't make a bowl. O-line just bad. Wide receivers average. Not one aspect of the team. Even looked top 25. Just ass. Wow.
Pretty harsh, but hard to argue with any of it.
I don't know what to do with that other than move on. Thank you for the donation. $1.99. Kyle, we appreciate that. $9.99 from Jake. Is there anyone on the offense that shouldn't have their position threatened during the offseason? Quarterback, not great. Wow,
running backs,
not great. Yeah, wide receivers, not great. O-line should be replaced outside of Gooseby.
Hell, he was asked about why was Brandon Baker playing at the guard position, and he said, well, he had been practicing well, and they thought he gave him the opportunity, at that guard position. So, but look, there is just to what Jake's saying.
By the way, Anwar, that's their 3rd left guard of the year with no injuries. Like, that's not happening.
Yeah,
they're being ravaged by injuries. They are checking them off. Every guy that can maybe get a chance.
Anybody block.
It's a That is a terrific point, Catch. To this point of a season in the SEC, third guy at that position, no injuries.
5 games.
Wow. Yeah, that is absolutely worth pointing out over and over. 10 from Angry Hammer. Do Tristan Nicholson or Mason Walters?
No.
I saw Mason
never do
Walters
that
in a
again.
game last year. Dude looks like he could still play. So
Come
bring him
on
back in.
now.
Hey,
190.
Mason Walters was better than these dudes.
Can Quinn come back? This Nepo baby isn't ready. Yeah, I saw the Nepo baby comment a couple times in the chat.
What is that? I don't know what that means.
Meaning that,
Nepotism,
nepotism that
you
Arch
get by
only
because of your
got the
parents
job.
or uncles or whatever.
Yeah, that thing. Kevin 999 defense is a fraud. Today is the example. We just overrated them. Anwar, I brought that up earlier. How surprised were you at this defense and the way it looked? Because to me, that was the thing I thought I could trust that coming into the game. I knew there'd be other issues in other areas. I really thought I could trust this defense to deal with that Florida offense. I'd watched all 3 losses. I'd watched those games. I really thought they could deal with it. And then that happens.
Yeah, what was surprising about that, because I didn't see that coming too, but I thought that's the thing you can hang your hat on. I mean, but from that opening drive, you're like, oh snap, okay. I mean, these guys not only they marched up and down the field, but they were physical. I mean, they were literally, they were more physical. They were throwing guys aside. Now look, I mean, Lagway did some good things, and I thought Lagway he did great as far as like releasing the ball or creating a little bit more time in the pocket. But they looked like the more physical. Like even Sark was asking, about, I think it was the touchdown. He's like, well, I got to go look back at it. It was I think it was the touchdown reception by Clark, right? No. Who was the receiver? Dallas Wilson, right? Excuse me. And he said that, I got to go look, but there may be a push on that play, right? But
push by who? Push off
by the receiver.
Okay.
Go ahead, Omar. Sorry.
That went out. Am I good now?
I was going to say, you got a little slow there for a second. It's trying to catch back up. Now you're there. Now you're back, I think.
Perfect. So he thought there was a little push potentially on the receiver, but he's like, well, no, they have big physical receivers, and, that's what you do. I thought they looked like the more physical team, and they were just tougher than Texas was as far as that goes. They were more physical.
Yeah, no doubt. $20 here from Angry Hammer. At what point do the Mannings regret trusting Sark and company with Arch's football career? Will they think hard this offseason about going somewhere that can give him a chance? Good grief.
No, that's. I mean, at this point, you're all the way in, right? And so you can't. They're not going to do that. By the way, a 50 spot came in. See you, Scott. 50 spot came in.
We will take incoming 50 spots.
We will take the incoming 50s. Fair enough.
Let's get the 50 up first.
Fair enough. Brian, $50. Only my wife tells me what to do, Chad. Buy or sell. Sark has been a disappointment as an offensive play caller.
I mean, buy. And Anwar, I think that this is when you talked about the benefits of the doubt that have kind of been given and what changes after today. Sark, the offensive coordinator thing's a thing now. Like, the offense is not good, and that's his baby. Yeah. Every decision goes through him, and he does not look – as long as that offense is as bad as it is, it looks like it's too much work for him to do.
I mean, so there's – Jason pointed this out in our teams, and I didn't think about it at that second, but then I was like, oh, snap. And it's little, but I think it's a reflection, which is right before halftime, where you when Sark basically calls that
I know
he calls a pass play, right? Calls a pass play, and instead of a run play, which is you basically can like run out the clock, right? You just could run out the clock and not make it a thing.
Florida had no timeouts.
Florida's having timeouts. He calls a pass play. He's saved by the fact that a sack occurred on that play, because if the pass occurs and there is an incomplete, you now have to punt the ball, and you give
Probably
Florida
around midfield. Yeah.
and you give them like 2 shots at the end zone, probably, right?
I mean, at least probably get a field goal out of it. Yeah.
At least, right? It's because they were moving the ball. It's minor.
Might have been a block punt to the back of the end zone. You never know.
Yeah.
Now,
To be fair, we are talking about Napier. Napier probably would have taken a knee.
To be fair, you're absolutely correct. And but the way as shitty as special teams has been playing this year, I mean, that anything could have happened on that unit, right? And we haven't. It's been so bad.
He almost basically coached himself into a very poor clock management situation that can't happen, and only them being so terrible that they couldn't get out of their own way kept that from being worse.
So a little thing, but then now to your point, it's kind of shows like you might need some help with some people on that side of the ball, whether it's putting people in the booth that you trust, get some more guys on the staff that you feel like can give you some input, but the play calling thing,
I'll say this. I didn't think. Sorry,
go ahead. No, good.
I didn't think the play calling was so much an issue. I mean, listen, he dialed up a perfect double pass. I mean, that should have been a walk-in touchdown. It's the execution, and it's the offensive line was just shit today, man. I didn't think it was on Sark as a play caller. Now, that play onward.
I don't know, man. Like, it's his fault. It is his responsibility that the running backs combined for 14 yards.
I get it, but I don't know that that's play calling as it is as much as it is personnel.
You know what was a bad play call? Late in the game, there's like 3 minutes and 50 seconds, and they get the ball down to the 1 yard line, and they are out of timeouts. And we're already talking about the fact that Florida will get the ball back, and with a single first down, they could potentially run the clock out. And it's 1st and goal from the 1. And what you cannot afford to do is to not get in the end zone, because it took like an extra 30 plus seconds off the clock just to line up. They couldn't on 1st and goal at the 1 when they knew if you're going to call a run play, by God, you better get it into the end zone. And they couldn't. And you needed time there. Almost you could have run 3 or 4 plays inside of the time that it took for them to run the next play. And little things like that. Think about the end of the game. They get the ball back, right? And they had a minute. Could have been a minute and a half without constantly being your own worst enemy. And Sark actually had a couple of strategic game management play calling issues. One in the first half, which Jason referenced. And then, in a world where an extra 20 seconds, 30 seconds would have mattered, they can't even get 1 yard running when the defense is on its heels, and it's just not good. That's the thing, Anwar, about today that's so bad is that it's one thing to lose, and it's another thing to realize that what you saw today is going to cause a lot more than one loss.
Yes.
Brian, thank you for the $50 super chat, and thank you for not listening to me.
I just want to piggyback off of that because, Catch, you and I have done enough shows that that I always am saying, by this point in the season, you kind of are who you are as a team. Like the whole, we're going to make all these kind of adjustments. That doesn't happen, when you're, 4 or 5 weeks in. You at this point now, it's just trying to manage and stop some sort of bleeding. But it is. And look, I understand, Catch, people, by time Monday rolls around, they're like you said, they'll tell themselves, well, UCLA had this, and what, the league is tough and things happen, right? And the people will look for comparisons in order to say, well, this happened to this team and this could happen here. But no, this is the reality. The reality that this team played one of the worst teams in this conference, a coach that was literally about to get fired, okay? And if he loses this game, there was speculation there may be a press conference on Monday, okay? And look, when I was here today, Catch, I was talking to people who were like, yeah, man, there's scuttlebutt around here that, maybe Lane Kiffin might be the guy. Like some of my people are saying they want to see if they could get him out of Ole Miss. So this is what was the conversation was, and you lost to that team. The other thing, Catch, I want to say, and you and I reported on this heavily, but I think one of the mistakes that was made is that there was so much focus and attention, Catch, on 2026. And when this season's over, making sure that we can retain all these guys on this roster to the point where it's like, well, we don't want to go super crazy in the transfer portal. We really want to make sure we just worry about our guys here. But the problem is, by not bringing in either more guys to compete or something to that effect, while they were looking ahead to follow 2026, what they kind of neglected was what 2025 might look like.
All right, we've got super chats. We're rolling through here. Thank you guys for sending them all tonight. TJ 499. At least we know now Texas will be spending like Liverpool in their transfer portal this offseason. Wow, taking an extra Liverpool shot at Cat. That is
the difference is like Liverpool didn't do any business the year before. That was not the case with Texas in the portal. Like Texas spent in the portal.
They did.
They have not done what we've now learned is they just made a bunch of bad decisions in terms of who they went out and got. You know, like they didn't want to go crazy. What Anwar's talking about, you know, like they offer 1.3-ish for Emmanuel Pregnon, which is basically what Oregon offered. It really didn't come down to money. So it just came down to where he wanted to go, and he chose Oregon over Texas. But they were afraid of not going big on difference makers in December because they were afraid they might have to end up paying a bunch of dudes on the Texas roster the same amount of money. And in the end, what they came away from in the portal, and this isn't me making this up, right? This isn't – when you look back at the rankings in the portal, I don't think Texas signed a single national top 50 portal prospect this year. And a year ago –
But so was injuries.
Injuries was like top 100 for a lot of people.
Okay.
And that's and in the end, it's a real example. Injuries, I think, is a real example of they got themselves into a position where they took the best guy that they could take, but that's only after they waited. They probably should have gone harder after the guy from Ohio State that was coming from Purdue, but it was the same thing. They didn't want to overspend. Ohio State's reaction to all of that stuff is, screw it. We'll figure it out on the back end and whatever. We'll make it work. Texas was like, we got bills to pay and we don't know how to pay them. And that little bit of hesitation, I think, made this roster a little bit worse, especially when you consider that they added poor decision-making around that. But there's nobody from this portal class right now that you would say looks like a difference maker. And when you're 5 games in, approaching the midway point, who's the best transfer for on this team right now?
A punter.
Yeah, non-kicking.
The punter, okay.
Because the place kicker might be number 2. So
Emmett Mosley,
okay.
based on what we saw today, Emmett Mosley.
Who caught 2 passes for 40 yards, and that's all he's done all season long.
Wasn't he the one that was overthrown for a
I don't care. It's an amazing indictment that could possibly be the answer in week 5 of the season.
Have all those defensive tackles put together equaled one good portal decision yet?
Not what we saw today.
Like,
that was,
I don't know.
They were exposed.
They haven't beaten.
Today.
The thing is, Chad, all you can do now at this point is judge this team off of its toughest games in order of difficulty, right? So Ohio State lost. Okay. But then they go, Florida is the only other game they played this year against a team with a pulse. It's a team with a pulse that South Florida beat in the same building. It is a team that, honestly, today's an inconvenience for Florida. Like, if they really want to make a run at a guy like Lane Kiffin, they need to get him out of the paint. What they didn't need is for Napier beating a top 10 team at home and getting like a little bit of juice and just, they're like,
Billy Napier's right in the middle of his Les Miles impersonation.
You just, you almost sometimes just need it to be clean, which is, I don't know. Like I thought they had a decent portal haul, right? Because it looked like injuries would be pretty good. It looked like a guy like Marad Watson. Didn't expect a lot necessarily this season, but it was like you've got him for 2 or 3 seasons. Kind of the same thing with Emmett Mosley. It was like, well, I don't know that he's a difference maker, but he's a really good possession receiver. I thought you saw that today, by the way. Like, he gets open, he catches the ball. It's not always splashy afterwards, but they looked better with him on the field catching passes. Although I hated that they had to lose Parker Livingston to get him on the field. I think those might be their two best receivers. I don't know what Ryan Wingo is. I know that 2 or 3 times a game, they throw him a ball that he makes look catching really hard. The ball goes through his
Yes,
hands.
please. Just the pepperoni.
And
2 would be great. Thank you so much, buddy.
Ryan Wingo isn't dependable enough to be a number 1, and I don't know if he's dependable enough to be a number 2. He feels like a guy that on a really good team gets 2 or 3 shots a game, and that's kind of all he needs. Texas is so lackluster at the skill positions that they've turned a guy that probably just needs a 2 or 3 balls, like big play balls thrown his way every game. But that might be the extent of who he is as a player in college, and that Texas is trying to make him their number 1 and volume targets 7, 8, 9 per game. I don't know if it's going to work. Like, I just don't know. They got no other choice this season. I think they'll go into Chad. I think they'll go into the portal next year, and they'll literally redo everything. They'll go after receivers. They'll go after offensive linemen. They'll counter move all of the decisions they didn't make this offseason. It'll be such an obvious indictment of what they did that they'll go, never again will we make that mistake, what we did this year. I think they threw the season as a byproduct of the decisions that they made. It's like one of those gunshot wounds in a movie where a guy gets shot in the chest. He's like laying on the ground. He's like, go on without me. I'll be okay. And it's like, no, motherfucker, you're dead, man. You're shot. Like, there's no doctors here. You're in trouble. It's like, no, go save everybody without me. It's like, no. I think that's what they did. They suffered a mortal wound. And, like, the season continues and the movie goes on. But in the end, they did something so early, so wrong. I think they killed themselves before they ever gave themselves a chance this season. This offensive line's not good enough. The running back position has no juice. The receivers lack speed. There aren't game breakers. Jack injuries right now just looks like a guy. I'm not saying he's terrible, but I've yet to see him make a play and gone, oh, well, that's why they spent $750,000 on that dude.
Yeah. All right, again, $50 and up we will add to the super chat list. Otherwise, we're trying to get through this list here, so let's do that. A quick 199er from Jay. Bright side, we finally scored more than 20. That is true. 499 from Oscar. I think Texas has a better chance to win if Caldwell was starting. Say what you will. At least he has poise to him. That was one play. 20 yards, $20 rather, from Angry Hammer. 24 you, Chad. Remember when Aggie baseball went from number 1 to unranked? Texas football says, hold my beer.
They'll be ranked next week. They don't deserve to be ranked next week.
I think it goes into the 20s. I don't know if they go all the way out. Oklahoma will have the chance to, I think, knock them all the way out. Ben, 499. O-line was horrid. This loss in season falls on Sark and Flood. This season is lost. Sark has peaked at UT. We're in decline everywhere. So much for a guru. Wow. Catch to your comment about now he's the Texas coach. There you go. Ben.
Because he will look at this reaction and think to himself, you guys don't deserve me. How dare you? Do you know what I've done? He will. Yeah. He will resent being questioned. This is a guy that doesn't like to be questioned at all, really. Not about his baby, right? He doesn't respect us if we say, this is what you could have done on offense. He doesn't respect his own staff members at times. I'll go back to when he was asked about Brennan Marion and the go-go offense. And it was like, oh, come on. Like,
my offense.
I don't need help. I don't need anybody else's little things. Like, he really thinks of himself as elite of elite of elite. And he's going to get questions asked of him like a guy who's not elite. He's going to be asked, should you have an offensive coordinator? And he's going to think, there's nobody in the sport that can hold my jock. And people are going to say, your offense against good teams can't break 20. And that's not just Arch this season. That goes back to last season. He's in year 5. They've not yet had a plus quarterback in 5 years. He is not holding up his end of the bargain. He is right now, he still has a job because his defensive coordinator hire proved to be pretty damn elite. But if Kwiatkowski had been Vance Bedford, Sark hasn't been good enough on offense to like compensate for that mishire. And every guy on his staff's going to be questioned. AJ Milwee, why is he the quarterback's coach? What is he doing? Kyle Flood, his Q rating will be at an all-time low. And I'm telling you, if that wasn't Sark's guy, it's been so bad. It looks like the quintessential scapegoat hire in college football. That at the end of the year, you point the finger at him like Tommy Boy when the door gets ripped off at the gas station. What'd I do? That's what you do with your Sark. You look at that offensive line and you go, wasn't my fault. He's gone. I'm bringing in another guy. That'll never happen again. And we'll go get some guys in the portal. That's not going to happen with Kyle Flood. So all these dudes are going to have to take it. They're going to have to take it. And Chris Jackson's going to have to take, like, hey, man, why? How come Florida and Oregon's 5-star wide receivers, like, you can put them on the field and they just make plays, and you guys signed 3 5-stars and they can't play at all? The only freshman receiver that caught a pass today was the one guy who wasn't rated as a 5-star by somebody. Like, everybody's going to get questions, but it all rolls back to Sark. And I'm telling you, he's going to hate it because the questions are going to start coming now. And if they don't arrive by Monday, go 3-3 and lose to Oklahoma and give up 10 sacks like you probably should have today. And it'll be bad. It will just, we've been through it. Sark, you haven't been through it. All of us on this call right now have. We've not our first circus on this front. And I'm just telling you, we know what's next, and it's not fun.
All right, $5 super chat from Chris, honestly asking, who is Dia Bell looking at and thinking Sark will develop me as a quarterback and set me up for the NFL draft? I know the O-line play is awful.
I think Dia's confident enough. He thinks he can.
Recruits surprisingly don't overreact to these things. Usually this late in the process, what they'll think is, well, this just means I can come in and play early. A lot of those guys, where losses, where seasons like this impact you is the next year. The next year, if it feels like your momentum as a program is petered out, you start to hear the infamous, well, I'm going to wait and see how it goes. And they're not at that by any stretch of the imagination. But like, if it gets worse, we also have been on our first rodeo with regards to like what happens in recruiting. And when you recruit as much out of state as Texas does, I'm not saying it's a bad idea or the wrong thing to do. It's a lot easier to circle the wagons if you get bad momentum in your program inside the state than it is suddenly to like convince Florida kids, oh, you know what, I shouldn't go to Georgia instead. You know, like the decisions those guys have to make are just a little trickier. Just all part of what we've got to watch now moving forward.
Here's John going after Flood a little bit here. $4.99. Put Flood bum ass on the first bus out of town and send the strength coach with him. Arch is tough as hell. Can't be good at quarterback with that O-line. John, thank you for that.
That's the first turn I've seen on the strength coach, but that seems to happen.
Every
strength coach is beloved when he first gets to the program, and then after a few years, like, get him out of here.
And that was true.
Fire Mad Dog even in a national championship season. Yeah. So
I was going to say that existed in the Big 12, but we know in the SEC it's a whole different version because it's supposed to be this physical conference. Fans love to talk about strength and conditioning coaches everywhere, but they really love to do it in the SEC. Michael, I would rather have a colonoscopy than have watched that game in person at the Swamp. embarrassing. And that, all
Well,
right.
colonoscopies, like, who's had one?
Several, sadly.
Was it so bad? I haven't had one yet. Is it so bad that
it's
you'd
nothing
rather
to it.
have that than the game?
The prep work to get to the colonoscopy.
The prep work's a little difficult. The thing itself, it's a pretty good nap.
Yeah, you just
and
go ahead and
that would have
take a
been more.
nap and-
That would have been a lot more calming than what Texas put out there
That's
today.
what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I'd rather have had the colonoscopy than having to.
I think he has a different vision of what takes place in there. So
Exactly. No, for me, for you, it's just a good solid nap. That's all you need to think about. $199
wasn't better than a good solid nap. So I'm just saying.
OUD line is going to eat Texas offensive line alive from the Opinion Sports Show at this point.
Hard to argue.
That is a hard one to argue. $4.99 from Okie Den. Jeff dogging on Quinn like he wouldn't have hit either of those wide open touchdown passes with the minimal contact. LMAO. Arch is just terrible. Okay.
I don't think anybody said anything about Quinn today other than
I don't believe so.
He probably would have had a hard time surviving the beating. Arch took a beating today. Like he really took some shots.
There was one time he got up. Specifically, I remember when that shoulder pad was turned up, and I thought, "Ooh, wow!"
The dude lost his helmet towards the end of the game. Like that's how much they were freaking killing him, right?
He also got sacked by a guy with no helmet. That's bad. I'd show the offensive lineman that a lot. Fellas, this dude got a half a sack and he didn't even have a helmet. What is going on?
Can I tell you, I have been an offensive lineman on a really bad offensive line performance.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing worse than film the next day.
Can't imagine.
When you're sitting there with the whole team.
Yes.
And they watch guys get ragdolled. Like, I mean, they will show how physically incapable they were of. Everybody will see it. It is such it's the most demoralizing thing in football is when a team in film watches how bad an offensive line can be completely overwhelmed because you can always convince it's like watching a guy get beat up. There gets to be a point during a fight when there ain't nothing this dude can do that can beat this other guy. And when a football team starts to realize that the guys up front can't fight, like really can't fight, it changes everything. And I've been there. I know I have seen. I can remember watching film on a game where you lose, you get humiliated. And it's just those guys. And the thing is, those offensive linemen, they'll have never gone through that once in their entire life. They will have always been the best player on the field in almost every game they've ever played until now. They're at Texas, and they're not as good as the other guy. And there's no Kelvin Banks that's a superhero that you can say, well, he'll just block 3 guys. All we got to do is worry about 4-on-3 over here. No, it's even Trevor Goosby's not so good that he can just pitch shutouts and never give anything up. I shudder to think that if Oklahoma does to the Texas offensive line what Florida did today, Texas won't recover for it in the final half of the season. It will be confidence-wise, you wouldn't be able to accomplish anything. Your quarterback can't gain confidence. Your running game doesn't believe that they can do anything. Your defense will stop believing that they have an offense that they should even bother with. Everybody, the older guys will play for themselves, try to get film for the NFL. Like that offensive line and its ability to be competent next week and not a disaster, I think is the strings holding this entire operation the rest of the season together. They have to at least do what they did against Ohio State. If they do next week what they did today, this season will get away from Texas. And, I mean, we'll be back to the days of like 2001 and 2002 in the postgame show where there won't be people sending $50 super chats and 1,000 people watching live. That's not how those things go.
Hey, Chad, I know you have a super chat up. Just real quick, because I had to find a different location. My laptop's getting ready to die, and so and I got a 2-hour
Come on
drive
out,
back to
dude.
Orlando anyway. So,
All right.
so the baby just. But to your point though, Catch, I just want to tell you, you are on point as far as that. You as far as what this offensive line is or is not at this point, and I just want to say I do agree because Oklahoma, again, Florida. I go back to this was the worst team in the conference that could not get to the quarterback. And they did it at will today. And I don't know, you can figure out what's worse. Was it the play of the offensive line? Or then if you feel like they may be playing okay, then it's a stupid penalty that happens. And it's been this penalty thing has been a thing, and it's an undisciplined team. One of the most undisciplined Steve Sarkisian teams we've seen since he's been here. The penalties are just a killer on that line. And that's probably a trickle-down effect. So, but anyway, my laptop's going to die, so I'm going to let you guys
All right,
wrap it up.
Great
Take care, man.
performance, Anwar.
Safe
Be
travels,
safe.
dude.
Thanks, guys.
Anwar Richardson in the swamp. Let's clean off these super chats here. $20 from Michael. Sark had 4 years to build an offense. Failure. It's not on the arch. O-line, scheme, and dudes. Get your shit together, Sark. All right, Michael. Yeah. I think that might be fair for 20. 20 spot for Angry Hammer again. So Catch, what level staff/insider were you quoting? Quote, if the season is still alive, end quote, that you used this week. Be as vague as necessary, but give us something.
Oh, if the season is still alive in the war room?
That was, I
had
think, in
said
it. Yeah.
that they were talking about the running backs, and they were talking about this offense was supposed to be built. The running game was supposed to be a Wisner, CJ Baxter combo affair. And my source had said, talking about Baxter's injury and the fact that Wisner's not 100%. Like, I don't know. If he is, then he's just a guy. Even worse than I thought, because he looked so pedestrian today. Even the touchdown was a gift. The guy should have knocked him out of bounds, just ran by him. Hey, but he'll take it if you're Texas. I mean, it was as trustworthy of a source as I have. It's a source that has been questioning Sark's decision making, like we have, with regards to the portal, and the feeling behind the scenes is that whatever problems exist, like Sark okayed everything. Like that, we could blame Kyle Flood for the offensive line. Sark okayed it. It is, and you know what? I'm going to be completely fair here, because in the offseason, when people want to go too far with what Brandon Harris does in the program, right? He's the general manager, and we talk about general managers all the time, and I am constantly saying Steve Sarkisian decides everything. Well, this isn't in 2010. There's been some comparisons to 2010 with this team. What I would remind people about the 2010 Texas Longhorns was that Mac checked out that offseason. What he did that year was he went to like North Carolina for the summer and just got the hell out of Dodge after the bad year. And he left his assistant coaches, which included Will Muschamp, head coach in waiting. He left them with like, you guys take care of everything. And then when he showed up, when the season started, he trusted that the staff would have everything. And when it didn't happen, he threw those guys under the bus. Like, you guys are letting me down. That's not what's happening here. Sark is not leaving and going to Bermuda for a month and like everything goes through Sark. So behind the scenes, you won't, I think, see any real finger pointing at Kyle Flood. There will be some, I guess, for him, but everything that we're talking about has Steve Sarkisian's stamp of approval on it. This is not a guy who's a shadow figure, some guy who's the president, but is really being run behind the scenes like a puppet master. He makes the decision on everything. He chooses every player. Every strategic decision they make goes through Steve Sarkisian. So when the question becomes like, why didn't you guys take any guys through the portal? we can talk about Kyle Flood. Steve Sarkisian's not naive. He's not. He's just really wrong right now. Yeah. And that's the thing, Chad, that concerns me the most is that he does not recognize how short this team is in the areas that it's short in. That, we did shows in August where it was like, right. What does it mean if the offense doesn't do anything in scrimmages ever? What is it? We did shows in June and July where I said, can you be a good offense if your defense is great? Because, how does this Texas offense build momentum and get to be good if they're constantly being dominated in practice? We just talked about all this stuff. And at no point did Sark ever go, I'm alarmed by any of it. Yeah. Sark, are you alarmed that you don't have a tight end? Nope. Are you alarmed that you didn't replace any of the speed in your offense? Nope. Are you worried about your offensive line at all? Nope. Are you worried about your quarterback at all? I know you think he's great, but he's never played any big games. Like, might he play hurried at all early? Nope. Nope. All year long, every time anybody asked anything of a question about anything. And it's like, man, every numbskull person watching this team, we can all see it's not good enough. How did Sark ever reach a point where he thought it was?
So, Catch, real quick, just to pick apart the words there in the quote, the season is still alive. Jason said for him today, the season changes a little bit. I'm not asking you to tell me exactly for that source.
Well, that comment was made. The guy said, I hope we see CJ Baxter and Trey Wisner as a 1-2 punch at the running back.
Right. While the season is still alive.
Before the season would no longer be alive.
So you think for that source, the season is still alive?
No.
Or did something change?
I think the source that I spoke to will not be a happy person tonight.
Okay.
And I think wasn't I don't think it was this particular source was asking some pretty hard questions a month ago.
Gotcha. Okay.
Coming out of Ohio State, a lot of the same questions personnel wise that we're talking about right now. Like, we knew in Ohio, there's been no miracle cure. This isn't
right.
It's what we talked about in August. What you have is what you get unless you have injuries, and then it gets even worse.
Yeah. And the only real difference ended up being, I think, the fact that the team had lost. Florida had lost 3 games, and the offense had looked that clunky, that out of sorts, and that was the team Texas played. If Florida had beaten South Florida and maybe wins one of those other 2, or their offense looks a little better, then this game was what I thought it would have been in the summer. But today I also just thought there was one part of this game I could trust, Texas D, one part of this game I couldn't, Florida O. And I was wrong.
Well, look, man, if you told me coming in that the Texas offense was going to have to score 28 to win.
30.
Well,
30, right?
Nope. I'm not including the 2. The defense gave up 27, right? Yeah. So we would do the thing where it's like, how many? You're right. They would have needed 30. But the defense gave up 27. And if you tell me going into the game that the defense is only going to give up 27, or not only, if you tell me that the defense is going to give up 27 points in this game, I would have picked Florida to win the game.
Yeah. I mean, technically, I picked 28-10, so I guess I would have said 28-27.
I picked 20-13, Chad. So them giving up 27 when I thought they would give up 2 touchdowns fewer than that.
Right.
I don't change my prediction. If you tell me coming in today, oh, no, by the way, this does not mean that Florida doesn't score on defense or on special teams. Just your defense gives up 27.
Yeah.
I would have picked Texas to lose today.
Yeah, I think it's fair. 499 from Ben. If you put Quinn behind this line, he's getting killed. People need to be real sick of it. Arch isn't good, but he isn't working with less than Quinn did. Wait, but he's working with less than Quinn did. He certainly is on that O-line. Now, there's no doubt about that right now. 999 from Matt. Was Gibson left in Austin? I saw Gibson in maybe one play.
He was in as a fullback on one of those short yardage plays.
Guys, he's not good. I mean, I'm just going to say it, guys.
Couple plays, right?
Garrett Gibson isn't good. And look, I don't know if any of them running backs are good, like really good, right? But Jarrett Gibson, Texas can't run the ball. No. They know that.
What'd you say the total was today? The total was like 15?
They had the running backs combined for 14 yards on 7 carries, I believe.
No, 11 carries.
Oh,
11 carries, 15 yards.
Okay, that's the final number. Sorry.
Yeah. 11 for 15 with a running back.
Only good news there is I don't have to ask you if one of them had a 20-yard carry. $5.
No, I believe I'm not looking at it because I was
6 yards catch was the long
It
carry
was
by
the 6 yard by Wisner.
Yep,
6 yards, yeah. Smooth Pants, $5. I thought the Mets were my biggest 25 sports disappointment. Texas says, hold on, man. You mean I have to rely on Jackson Dart now? Lord Jesus. Sounds like a New York fan that is trying to deal with
Wasn't
some
good
stuff.
for any of us New York fans, man. My Yankees took it on the chin today.
Jesus, my Phillies were up 3-0 an inning ago, and now they're down 5-3.
Good grief.
This is officially one of.
Hey, real quick.
Hey, I don't think nobody's having a good night. Mississippi State's up 3-0 on the Aggies.
What is in the first half?
What is going on? Our pets' heads are falling off.
Hey, can I say one ludicrous thing real quick?
Of course.
Now A&M's about to score.
I think a 9-3 team might make the playoffs this year. I just don't know that Texas is going to be good enough to even go 9-3.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So Sark talked you into it, just not for his team.
No, Penn State losing today was we're officially at a point where I think on a weekly basis we may start seeing like 2 or 3 teams in the top 10 lose every week. Iowa State lost today as well. They were 14. Like we saw shrapnel all over the place last week. We're going to see it again when this weekend is over. Texas will be part of it.
Yeah. Mike, $10. Does Arch make a business decision and leave? Pains me to say it, but really, wow.
Is
that where we are?
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Is it that? I know things got less fun today, but that?
We got to see how the rest of the season goes.
Oh, Mike. ATX Bates, great to see you today as always. $1.99. Pick one. Let Flood go or get to Shard Choice back. Whoa.
Those are both getting Shards.
It's a weird choice there. Catch, you want to play that game?
The thing is, I don't want to let Flood go. That's not the answer to this problem.
Yeah, so choice, I guess.
The problem is listening to him if he's the one making the decisions on what they like. If Joe Wickline is the offensive line coach and he's like, don't give me any 5 stars. I only want the 2-star guys. I'm going to be like, no, Joe, we're going to recruit better. You're going to be nicer. You're not going to curse out every good player we get and run them out of the program. Be a good coach. Let the big adults make personnel decisions. And the thing is, like, you cannot let assistant coaches dictate your decision making. Think about how fucking stupid that would sound in the NFL. Hey, Jerry, why didn't you improve your offensive line personnel this year? Well, let me tell you what happened. Back in the day, Hudson Hawk told us, if you want to have a good offense, you got to ask your offensive line coach, how many offensive linemen do you need? And if he says none, don't get any. So we asked offensive line coach, who's not Hudson Hawk, and Hudson, shame on you for telling us that. How many offensive linemen do you need? Didn't ask my director of pro personnel or director of scouting. I asked my assistant coach, and he said none. And then we got none. Like, that's so – think about how ridiculous that is. That a $1 billion operation with scores of people who are in charge of really important elements of the program, and you didn't get the right personnel because an assistant, because the Dwight Schrute of the staff, no, we got this. We're good. Okay, well, if Kyle Flood says so, no, like there has to be somebody who's in charge, and maybe there needs to be somebody in charge who's not named Steve Sarkisian. And I don't mean that from a head coaching standpoint. I'm talking about we're constantly having this conversation of what is too much to ask of the head coach.
Yeah.
Part of the conversation that we're having tonight about this entire operation on the offensive side of the ball comes down to is Steve Sarkisian taking on so many job roles that he's taken on too many, and things are sneaking through the cracks in a bad way. And I'll tell you this, Oklahoma is not doing what Texas is doing right now on the personnel side of things. And I'm not telling you that's the reason why they're undefeated and Texas isn't. I'm just saying, for the record, other schools are doing it differently than the way Texas is, who's already doing it differently by having a head coach who's a play caller. That does not grow on trees in college football right now. B, they don't have a single offensive paid staff member who's an actual coach who's in the booth. Now, almost literally 97% of college football has an offensive coordinator calling plays in the booth. Texas not only is not one of those 97%, they don't have anybody from the staff in the booth. They're all on the sidelines. And I'm not telling you that Sark is doing that wrong. What I'm telling you is there's about 10 things that Texas is doing on offense right now that nobody else in the country is doing. And they're doing them all at the same time. The teams that might have a play caller who's the head coach are not wasting opportunities to use the portal to improve the offensive line, right? That's a Texas and Texas situation. All of these things have added up on top of themselves. They're all unforced mistakes by ultimately the decision maker in charge. When this season is over and they've likely missed the playoffs and had one of the most disappointing seasons in the history of the modern college football era with regards to preseason number ones, I wonder how many times in the next decade we'll see a preseason number one not make the playoffs. It will not happen very often. We are watching a historical disappointment. When this season is over with, what lessons has he really learned? It will, I think, ultimately define how we remember the Steve Sarkisian era in the long haul. There have to be changes, and he has to be hip and smart enough to truly know this is what I need to give up in order for this program to take the next step, or I can't ever make those mistakes again. Well, what happens if you do?
Also, quick side comment to the portal discussion on the wide receiver front. Forget about whatever happens in this game in College Station. Casey Concepcion just made a play, just an effort, badass kind of play that if I'm a Texas fan watching, it'd piss me off on 3 levels. Like that kind of a play is what you're supposed to go get in the portal.
They knew that. They
knew
got
it.
to back-to-back playoff appearances because of their aggressiveness of going after receivers in the portal.
And maybe Mosley gives them one coming up. I mean,
No,
he's been hurt.
I
don't think he's that guy.
You know what they decided, and this is where Jason and I fundamentally have had some real doozies on the modcast over the years. They valued their high school receiving prospect this year because they were hearing this was a thing. We talked about this on shows. There were incredibly prominent high school wide receiver coaches, personal trainers, if you will, who were starting to tell their kids, hey, man, don't sign with Texas. Sign somewhere else and then transfer to Texas or in the portal. You would be stupid, based on what we've seen for the last couple of years, to be a high school kid and sign. Well, what did Texas do? They were like, we're starting to get that reputation. We're going to go sign a bunch of high school kids. We're going to get a 5-star here, a 5-star there. They decided, and they did not go to the portal because they didn't want to interfere with the development of the freshman wide receivers. They were worried about what kind of blowback they would get if they signed that many badass freshman wide receivers and then blocked their pathways with older players. The greatest trick the devil ever played on anybody was convincing Texas that would be their biggest problem by not bringing in portal players, that they might get a reputation for, I don't know, playing the best players.
Getting portal players. That's like an
They will
NFL.
never make this mistake again, and if they
No.
do, jobs will be lost.
It's like an NFL team staying away from free agency because of the same thing. That would make no sense. $4.99, Barb's 10. Good to have you back. Overreaction show going to be renamed Reaction Show tomorrow. Perfect.
Barb, that's funny.
That is good. Perfect time for a drunk unk show. Yeah, that may be it. Maybe that'll be. Hey, tune in Monday morning. Make sure that may
For
turn
the
into
reaction show.
the reaction. Yeah, no need to overreact. Just reacting. Yeah. Texas fight $4.99. O-line was bad, but Arch takes forever to get through his reads. Backup quarterback came in, made a great throw under the same pressure. Boy, they are breaking down that one play. Long season ahead. Yeah,
It was a great throw. Like, credit to Matthew
Good
Caldwell.
throw.
He threw a
Yeah.
beam. Yeah, it was
It
good.
was. $5 from Patrick. Every high-level coach that hasn't utilized the portal has failed, Dabo. WTF, did Sark think he was differently? He was different, especially after
It's
utilization.
Yeah,
not
somebody
like
on-
Texas hasn't used the portal or didn't even use it last year.
Right.
They just didn't use it wisely. last
Exactly. It's, yeah, not the
year. It's not like
usage,
Sark's
but
against the portal. I mean,
Well, he's there. You saw what they were calling Kyle Flood on OB earlier, right?
what was that?
Dabo Flood.
no.
Oh, geez, Dabo Flood. Yeah, but see, to catch his comment about the receivers, it's the fact that they used that portal a certain way, and it got them a lot of productivity, and then they went the other way.
It got them in the playoffs 2 consecutive years. They don't make the
Yeah.
playoffs either year without getting Adonai Mitchell in the first year through the portal. What that changed in the offense changed what Texas was as a team. And then, geez, Louise, like, they're so deep. I'm telling you, they don't even have, they could use what Silas Bolden brought to the table on this year's team. He'd be a 50 catch guy. I don't think they have a receiver on this team right now that's better than Silas Bolden. I really don't.
2 more super chats to grab here. $9.99. What's up, Michelle? What's insane is they thought they went all in like Ohio State last year. Delusional at best. Like, bitch, where did you go all in? Need a lot of changes.
I love Michelle.
Shouting ASAP.
I love her.
Michelle really, I think, is your, like, it's kind of your football sister out there. Yes.
We're not just non-enchilada eaters together.
Right. You both don't.
Wait, Michelle don't eat enchiladas.
She's
either?
the other one that's never had an
Oh, hell,
enchilada,
you two
just
are
like
weird.
Catch.
You guys are made.
They're 2
for
peas
each
in a pod. They're like
Yeah.
separated at birth. It's
I
crazy.
mean, this is the quote of the weekend. Like, bitch, where did you go all in?
Oh my God. That is so great. Michelle, have a great night as much as you can after that kind of performance.
Do you
Good
want to
grief.
know? I texted Michelle this morning and I said, Michelle, wear all your lucky crap today.
Did you really?
Yes, I said,
Yeah.
take no chances.
Oh,
Wear
absolutely not.
everything you have that's supposed to be lucky, make sure you wear it today.
And now you need to text her again and say, whatever you wore, burn it.
Where?
You think I'm
Bury
going
it.
to have to tell Michelle that
Michelle's
she's
already
not allowed
buried.
to ever wear whatever she wore today?
She's already buried everything she wore today. $4.99. Last one. I don't know what to say other than Catch. Could you transcribe your initial rant and post it on OB? Now, BK, you got to go back and watch it again. Just watch it over and over. Over and over.
I had some of it in the analysis. I have my 10 thoughts from believe me. Look, I got to go back and watch this mess.
Oh, good Lord.
Man, look, I'll end
It's gonna
it
be
on
a rough
positive-
rewatch.
I'll end it on positivity.
Okay.
Arch is better prepared to play OU next week, having played today. Like, I really think Arch was better today than he's been at any point this season, even more so than Sam Houston State. That game just doesn't matter. And early in that game against Sam Houston State, Arch was still throwing the ball into the ground, like throwing it low. I really didn't think today, other than that one ball that was it Wisner that caught, he scooped it low.
Yeah.
Think about the first throw of the game that Arch made, right? So it's 7-0. They're on the road. He's been sitting on the sidelines. They come in. The first throw was that deep out that he threw to Livingston that went for about 20.
Easily his best route so far as a quarterback. That's the one he throws most consistently.
Now, look, all that told me was like, okay, Arch is cool. Like, I from that moment on, I wasn't worried that the Arch of the 3 weeks ago would show up.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't. That's not who Arch was today. Arch wasn't good enough, but I never really felt at any point he was incapable. I thought he did a better job of mixing in when to run. And it got to be like every other play, he was almost on the verge of like having to – he did a better job of holding the ball and holding off running and buying time for receivers. There was more today from Arch that I think will be useful next week than any of that shit from Sam Houston State was, certainly anything else. If you take the 2 interceptions away, and you can't, but there was a world out there where if they do find a way to backdoor their way into overtime, we would have looked at the performance as Arch willed them back. Now, whether that's completely fair or not, I mean, I don't make the rules. I just follow them. We overreact to quarterbacks doing things like that. But, man, if we just forgotten how bad he was to start the season and we just watched this game in a vacuum, the only thing that we would think was that his offensive line is terrible and he's lucky to have played halfway as well as he did, because as many times as he was hit, he didn't fumble today. And I mean, he took some shots.
Yep.
There was no scoop and score. He had he has the 2 interceptions, but he doesn't throw the pick 6. Like, he didn't make the game-losing, defeating mistake. And I thought he was the only reason why they were really in the game. Matthew Caldwell would not have survived. Nobody else survived. Arch survived today because he's a big old strong dude, and those dudes can take more of a beating than the smaller guys. And today he took a beating. And I would just say he's going to take the same beating next week, and maybe if they play halfway decent next week, and it's a big if, it'll probably have been some growing up in this game that would make next week capable, or possible, but I don't know what to expect next week other than if it's anything remotely on the level of this week, Oklahoma will beat Texas next week, and it'll be exactly the same reasons why Florida did. It'll be because they beat them up on both sides of the football. And not so much – I don't worry about that offensive line for OU doing that against Texas, but I think the OU defensive line can do an even more dominant job than what the Florida defense did today, and that's scary as hell.
That touchdown pass to Wingo, the move he makes when his offensive lineman does absolutely nothing for him, was an amazing play by Arch today. And sadly, he may have to do a couple of those in Dallas.
Nick Brooks whiffed so badly that Arch had no choice but to climb the pocket, and that was he climbed the pocket, kept his eye on Wingo,
and that's Sap is coming right in his face.
One other time he had to climb, and then he took off and ran it. But I mean, the protection was so bad, he had no other choice. It actually worked out in Texas's benefit.
All right, before we close up, Jason, any final thoughts from you?
God, I don't know. We've talked about so much. Just disappointed, but not shocked. Not totally surprised. Certainly not shocked. I mean, I've watched 4 games of this team before today, and it has not been a good football team. I mean, Anwar Siddle, I've gotten so much shit. There's a post on the board about it, about my rankings. Like, dude, this has not been a good football team. Right. About 5 minutes against UTEP, it was a good football team. It was a good football team against Sam Houston. Who gives a shit? This has not been a good football team, and it came to light today, and I don't know what the future holds, but something better change in a hurry. It's going to be a long year.
I was still trying to keep them in that upper group in my mind because of the trust I had in the Texas defense. I kept saying all these teams you're thinking about. Window, right? Yeah, I've been saying all these teams, hey, they have to play the Texas defense. They have to face the Texas defense. That comment feels totally different right now. The only comment I would make before we close up is to every Texas football player that plays offense. He wears number 32 for Oklahoma. If you don't figure him out, it's going to be even worse next week. Even worse. Because to me, Florida does not have one guy that can wreak havoc like that dude can. Thomas, good grief. Good grief. He's just he has a chance to sign his name all over that ball game if Texas can't block any better than that. He will rip that offensive line apart. Find number 32, fellas. All right. Catch, you got anything else? You good? We're good? We're over 2 hours.
My final thought would be next week, Texas offensive line needs to channel its inner OU offensive line. Just hold so goddamn much that they just can't throw flags.
You can't call it on every play.
hold so much
That's fair.
that they redefine what is holding and what isn't holding. Because, you go.
Speaking of next week, it's another 2:30 kick with that OU game. The only good news, I guess, is it's not that 11 a.m. thing. We'll be back here at TCH Social Austin for the watch party. Come on out and see us next week. They'll have more good drink and food specials for you, so you can come watch the game with us. Never watch the Texas OU game alone. Come watch it at TCH Social Austin next Saturday at 2:30, and we'll crank this post-game show up, and hopefully it's a lot better next week. Thank y'all for jumping in. Stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Oh, goodness. This is Orange Blood.